Welcome back to the channel. Today, we dive into Glayton Modise's legacy, his influence, his controversies, and the succession war that shattered the IPHC. In the years following the death of IPHC founder Frederick Samuel Modise, the church entered a new era, not one without succession dispute, led by his son Glayton. His leadership expanded the church's influence, wealth, and footprint across South Africa. But his reign also became the foundation for one of the most contested religious succession battles in the country's history. This episode examines how Glayton shaped the IPHC, the controversies that emerged, and how his death fractured the movement. When Frederick Samuel Modise died in 1998, the International Pentecostal Holiness Church faced a defining question: who would lead millions of followers into the next era? Within the congregation, one name rose again and again: Bobo, the founder's son-in-law. He had served closely beside Frederick for years, earning trust and spiritual credibility among believers. For many members, it seemed only natural that he would take up the mantle of leadership. But there was another contender, Frederick's biological son, Glayton Modise. In the final moments of the founder's life, witnesses say he requested that Glayton be brought to his bedside. The two reportedly spent a lengthy period alone in a private conversation before Frederick passed away. According to Glayton, it was during that moment that his father personally instructed him to take over leadership of the church. But there was a challenge. Frederick left no written succession plan to confirm that claim. This opened a floodgate of uncertainty and allegations. Some members questioned whether Glayton had been fully dedicated to the church before that moment, while others pointed to the importance of bloodline leadership. Rumors and personal criticisms began to circulate, further deepening the divide. With no clear spiritual directive and the stakes impossibly high, the dispute moved to the only authority left, the courts. After a heated legal battle, the leadership of the IPHC was formally awarded to Glayton. Bobo and a faction of loyal followers broke away and formed another church, a fracture that would echo throughout the church for decades to come. Though not as publicly charismatic as his father, Glayton brought a different kind of leadership, one rooted in structure and strategy. Glayton brought strong administrative skills, business acumen, and a firm understanding of the church structures. His leadership marked a shift from spiritual founder-led governance to a more centralized, controlled administration. Under his leadership, the church increased its property portfolio, strengthened internal revenue streams, expanded membership, became more financially organized, and consolidated authority under the office of the Comforter. It was clear that Glayton had a plan to build on what his father started. Throughout Glayton's tenure, significant developments took place. 1. Strengthening of church assets. The IPHC acquired additional land, buildings, and income-generating properties. The silo, already iconic, became the spiritual headquarters for millions. 2. Centralized financial power. Tithes, offerings, and donations were streamlined through structures controlled by Glayton's leadership circle. 3. Expansion of the IPHC brand. The church grew across Gauteng, Northwest, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and KwaZulu-Natal. The movement reached beyond South Africa's borders into Botswana. 4. Increased security and internal control. Reports from insiders and former members suggest that the church became more structured, with clearer lines of power. These measures strengthened Glayton's position but also increased criticism. As the church continued growing, so did scrutiny. Several concerns among church members and in public reported the following. 1. Financial transparency. Followers questioned the level of visibility into church finances. The rapid accumulation of assets by the church and by Glayton personally became a topic of debate. 2. Leadership style. Some members perceived Glayton as decisive and protective of the IPHC legacy. Others saw him as authoritarian and intolerant of dissent. 3. Internal tensions. Branches occasionally clashed over administrative decisions, financial management, and priest appointments. While many of these disputes remained internal, it's a sign of the explosive conflict that would erupt after his death. Glayton was married to Miriam Modise, also known as Mapoloko. This was his civil marriage, legally recognized under South African law. As the first wife, she initially held the primary position in the family and church structure. The IPHC permits religious polygamous unions. According to court documents and media reports, Glayton reportedly entered into a second union with Pearl Tafu, popularly known as Mama Hao, under the church's religious rights. Publicly released allegations say that after Mama Hao agreed to marry Glayton as his second wife, his first wife, Mapoloko confronted her violently, reportedly with a sword, accusing her of having an adulterous affair with her husband. The confrontation allegedly nearly ended in tragedy. In court papers and media testimonies, Mama Hao claimed this attack happened after she agreed to the marriage while young, around 18 to 19 years. Public report and court documentation indicate that Glayton accumulated significant wealth during his leadership. His estate included high-valued properties, luxury vehicles, church-linked commercial assets, business investments tied to IPHC operations. Some followers viewed this as rightful prosperity, while others questioned the merging of personal wealth with church assets. Regardless of perspective, Glayton emerged as one of the most influential and wealthiest religious leaders in South Africa. In February 2016, Glayton Modise died, leaving behind a leadership vacuum in a church with millions of devoted followers. Soon after his passing, an alleged will surfaced. This document claimed Michael Sandlana was the chosen successor. Church control would shift to him immediately. Assets and governance powers would be placed under his authority. But the Modise family disputed the will almost immediately. Court filings and later investigations questioned its authenticity. This was the moment the IPHC began cracking. Michael Sandlana is an individual completely not related to the Modise. However, he grew up around the church because his mother used to work inside the church. After Glayton's death, the IPHC split into three major factions. 1. The Silo faction, led by Frederick Modise, rooted in the belief that leadership should remain in the Modise bloodline. 2. The Jerusalem faction, led by Michael Sandlana, based on the disputed will and Sandlana's claim to leadership. 3. The Jordan faction, led by Tsepo Modise, another Modise family member asserting rightful succession. Each faction claimed spiritual legitimacy, ownership of church assets, and the right to lead millions of followers. The split soon escalated into open conflict. Multiple reported incidents included violent confrontations at church branches, property invasions, armed security escorts, police interventions, destruction of property, and murder. Members were forcibly removed from church premises. For a church built on unity and healing, the scenes were unprecedented. The fight for control became not just spiritual, but political, financial, and legal. The discord muddied Glayton's legacy. What once was seen as a spiritual comforter and leader became a symbol of division and controversy. The faith of many believers was shaken. The church's internal unity fractured not just over leadership lines, but over personal loyalty and interpretation of polygamy. The estate dispute and allegations created long-lasting mistrust within church ranks and among church members. While the factions continued battling, another chapter was unfolding behind closed doors. In the shadows of succession, war emerged. Allegations of forged documents, high-level legal maneuvering, a controversial urgent ruling, and the involvement and arrest of a High Court judge. This would ignite one of the most dramatic chapters in the history of IPHC. If you love our videos and want to see more of our future videos, please hit the subscribe button to get notified when we release our next video. Thanks for watching and see you in the next episode.